Good morning and afternoon to everyone. We want to welcome you. Design on High Point Market is excited to have our fall programming started. It's fall 2020 and we are looking forward to the programming, to having our buyers and attendees come to market in October. And this is just the beginning of what we hope is a wonderful fall season. Today we have Sustainable Furnishings Council and Susan Ingalls, and our presentation will be on how to shop for eco no matter what you're shopping for. So Susan, I'll turn this over to you. And as a reminder, this is CEU accredited, so afterward, in a day or two, you will get that self-reporting credit in your email. All right, Susan?
Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you all for being here with us. Thank you especially to our illustrious panels of SFC ambassadors. So I, as you all probably know, direct Sustainable Furnishings Council, and we are a membership organization. Our ambassadors companies are, of course, all members. If your company isn't yet a member, you are invited to get involved with us too. Companies that are members have made their own personal or corporate commitment to sustainability, to transparency, and to continuous improvement. As an organization, we help them in realizing their commitment. So that involves a lot of providing of information, which we will be doing today in this discussion of how to shop for eco no matter what you're shopping for. And I'm delighted to have you with us, Brig and Jane, to lead this discussion. Brig and Jane, as y'all probably well know, is an designer and an entrepreneur and a lifestyle expert. You will learn a lot from her regular blog posts. She is with us from Venice, California. We also have from California, Jennifer Jones of Niche Interiors. She's a lead AP and is in San Francisco. And we have Annelle Gandelman of A-List Interiors, who is a green AP and is with us from New York. John Eason of John Douglas Eason Interior Design, calling in from New York City. So thank you all for being here with us for this discussion at the beginning of this extraordinary fall season.
Thank you so much, Susan, for having us, and thank you for bringing us all into the Sustainable Furnishing Council. And yes, anyone can be a member. I think that this is a great time to kick off this conversation. I don't know if everyone's seen sort of the posts going around about the metronome clock in Union Square. And Nell and John, that's sort of your neck of the woods. And I think it's just a great week that sparked a conversation about environmental impact and how it can affect our years on this planet. I don't know if anyone saw that, but there was a big clock that went up in Times Square that said, we have 7 years to figure this out. But another thing that I don't know if people noticed is to the right, there is a percentage clock of the world's energy renewable sources. And that's where we want to focus today. The nice thing is there is solutions and we can change it. And that's the conversation I am so grateful to be hosting today with all our panelists. And I think I just want to kick this off from an industry standpoint. You know, we go shopping. We are the interior design community. We have a lot of power in our dollars, and we're looking for a look and a price range. And we have a list of things that we need to fill in our carts. But when you learn about the eco story behind a product, it truly draws you in. And it's a little piece and a way that we can give back to Mother Earth. And so I just wanted to kick this off and sort of ask Jennifer, Annelle, and John, what are you looking for in terms of eco-friendly products, and what questions are you asking that we can tell our viewers to also remember to ask? Anyone want to take that one first? John, I mean, your background's just so beautiful.
Thank you. You know, I think the first question is, what's it made of? You know, we have a responsibility to making people aware that we want to know. And I think that's the first, when we start to spread that out, when we start to let manufacturers of the furnishings and what have you that we buy know that we're concerned about what these things are made from and how that might eventually impact our lives. I think, you know, by bringing a bigger awareness to sustainability, we're starting to, you know, ratchet it up towards that 7-year mark.
Yeah. And Susan is so good at giving us so many of these stats on her website and everywhere else. And John, you're so right, because 80% of the environmental impact of the products does come from what it's made of. Anel, do you have any questions that you sort of lead with when you're trying to get behind that eco story?
For sure. Hi, everyone. I am also really concerned about where items are made, because I think if an item is made in the US, there's more transparency. You can ask more questions about the materials. When items are made overseas, particularly mass-produced in places like China, I think that is a bit of a red flag, and you have to do a little bit more research. So I think it's really important to find out, where is it made, and are parts of it being made overseas and then finished in the US? Because sometimes things are made in multiple places, and you have to do a little bit more digging.
Yeah, and it's true. These are such basic things that I think we can all remember to do. What's it made of? How's it made? Where did it come from? Jennifer, do you have any tips in terms of the simplicity of just opening up the conversation?
Yeah, you know, I really like to just start with a really general question. I leave it open to the manufacturer to tell me what is sustainable, or what's your approach on sustainability. And then I find that I hear a lot of interesting answers based on what that manufacturer leads with. So sometimes they may answer in a way that they think things are sustainable when I don't necessarily. So I think you can find out a lot just by an open-ended question and starting it off that way, and then diving deeper and drilling down to, you know, what's it made of, where is it made.
And this story always draws me in. I mean, John, before we all got on here, you were telling us about that gorgeous piece behind you. And tell us a little bit about it, because these are the stories that draw us in deeper to what we all love to do, but in a way that is giving back to the earth. So John, please tell us the story you were sharing with us.
Okay, absolutely. This is my husband's new gallery that he's opened just 2 months ago in the middle of a pandemic. And the piece that's behind me is a gorgeous piece, which was made by a very young artist. And I think what we're finding these days is artists, especially the younger artists, are really aware of Earth and how we need to take care of her. So this console behind me was actually made entirely from waste wood.
An amazing story, and I'm probably partial to it because my favorite color is teal. But I love that we're able to, you know, bring these pieces to life, draw in even our clients ever more present. And everything has a story. It makes us feel good about adding it to our space.
And Regan, can you just say something about our responsibility as interior designers? You know, our clients come to us and they may not necessarily make sustainability a priority, but we are curating a group of selections, and we have essentially the power to present them with beautiful furnishings that are also sustainable. And so I think we have a greater impact than, you know, if someone is just, you know, out there in the world selecting their own furnishings without an interior designer. I think that we can really contribute in a larger way because we are able to kind of edit out all that very toxic furniture. And, you know, besides being sustainable, we're also improving the health of our clients' spaces and creating value that way.
Yes, we get to be the leaders in curation of what is in our space, and that's why they invite us in for all these expertise. And I really appreciate all of you being ambassadors for something that's bigger than just beautiful, right? And this has been a really tough year. I mean, it's the worst fire season we have ever seen on the West Coast, record breaking. The Gulf Coast, we are in the middle of hurricane season. There's so much going on. CO2 emissions are everywhere in our atmosphere. And, you know, one of the things that I've found interesting this year is we've really moved all of our shopping, it seems, online. And that sort of was the result and the reaction to what was going on in the world. But it also feels like a good moment to think about our CO2 emissions and what we can do with our environmental footprint. And one of the things that I love is these new virtual showrooms and the way to reach the world that maybe physically you can't be there. Have you guys seen any great virtual showrooms, Jennifer, or new ways of doing business that you think we should stick to as the world sort of opens back up?
Yeah, interesting. I think D'Souza Hughes in San Francisco has a great virtual showroom. So you can actually walk through it and feel like you're there. For us, we don't do a lot of shopping online. So we do shopping online based on the vendors that we use, that we trust, that we know where the furniture is made here in the US. So we'll source online, but we know that, we know the backstory of each vendor that we're sourcing from, and typically from showrooms. So I don't think it'll change how we're sourcing too much in the future, but I do like the virtual showrooms. I think it saves us a little bit of a trip to the actual showroom. I'm curious to hear what Anel and John, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it will change for your businesses moving forward?
I think, like you, it's important that I'm familiar not only with the sustainable practices of a vendor, but also the way their sofas sit and the quality of their finishes. And that's not really something that you can appreciate virtually. So I think it is important to go once in a while in person. But like you said, if you are familiar with them, especially for case pieces where the comfort level isn't as important, it's great to have that as an option.
Yeah, I felt as a designer, it was a great way for me to get back to the research of my pieces, because I wasn't able to go in and just hand select what my eyes were drawn to. I got into this mode of really going online and digging for the pieces, and the story being written out online and having that information made me feel like a more informed consumer, because as a designer, sometimes my eyes are bigger than my stomach, I guess would be how we say that. But it has been nice to see that, I'm able to reach more people and start new good practices in moments of change. And in these moments of change, I think we want to think about how it affects not only us, but our entire communities. And there's just, we all drink from the same source of water. And whether or not we live upstream or downstream, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, globally and humanitarian wise. And I think that one of the things behind products that we want to make sure we're not inadvertently doing is contributing towards any sort of exploitation. Unfortunately, that happens in product making. And I would just love to give our audience sort of some tips on how do you have those conversations with your vendors? How do you open that up? Because I think it's something people are scared to ask, or I would even love some tips, because it's a hard thing to ask.
I think it goes back to finding out where things are made. Again, if you are shopping locally, going to manufacturers that are based in America, there are just much stricter controls. And I think that sustainable practices tend to go hand in hand with exploitation. So if people are cutting corners on materials and using toxic chemicals, they just don't care. It's all about the profit margin, and they are more likely to exploit people. So I think asking vendors about the culture of their company and having them tell you about their philosophy is a great way to start, as opposed to, you know, just interrogating them in the first place. So I would start there.
And I think
I agree with you. I think I was going to say that transparency is pretty crucial. And I do think that you have a baseline knowing that if you're purchasing something that's made in, you know, North Carolina or LA here in the US, you have a better chance of knowing that the labor, you know, practices are fair. The company is adhering to standards that are better. So that's kind of where we start. We don't really source furniture outside of the United States as a general rule, unless maybe it's hardware or lighting or things like that.
yeah.
I think the other thing that you can really tell when you're asking vendors or checking about this is, I think unarguably all of us are very passionate about this. And I think when you're talking with people about sustainability, either they have passion for it or they don't, because, you know, if they're going to jump in, they jump into their chest and are concerned about all the different ways that it may affect the world around them. And so I think that's, you know, it's interesting. You can start with the smallest seed and you wind up with this big story.
Mm-hmm.
True. And I also appreciate a tour. You know, some of these vendors and makers will help you sort of see behind the curtain, and it's always nice to actually be able to visit facilities, shake hands with people you're doing business with. A lot of them are artisans who are pouring, you know, you feel their soul in, you know, products that they're hand hammering. And so it's just nice to be able to interact with them and create those relationships, because you do, like, when I bring a piece into my house, it's got a little bit of everybody who touched it in it, you know? And so knowing that story is really fun for me. Like, I'm a tour nerd, but I also like museums, but I think I'm in shared company here.
I think that also goes back to having things made locally too, because especially now where we're not able to travel, I mean, we do most of the furniture, I'd say maybe 30 to 40% of the furniture that we sell is made custom, and it's made in San Francisco within like 2 miles from our office. And so then you really have the control of knowing who's making it, what every single material is that's going into the piece of furniture, since you're able to spec everything. And then you're also supporting local makers and fabricators, which I think is really crucial.
And the quality is going to be better. I mean, it's basically a win-win. All these companies that are sustainable tend to be better quality, and so you are helping your own business, you're helping your client, you're helping the environment. It's a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah, and I think my clients like to know that I know who made their pieces. I think it's another tie-in to these conversations that we can have around, you know, pieces of furniture that's so much deeper than what it looks like. It's the energy and the beauty that you're adding to your home and why. And sometimes simpler is better, you know, just like with our food. You don't want a bunch of additives in there. And in these environments, chemicals can be a really harsh on our climate and on everything else. So what is it made of is important, but also there's these flame retardants and formaldehydes and antimicrobials. I can't even say that right, but you know, these chemicals that, like, when you look at the back of your food, you're like, yeah, probably don't need to eat those things that I can't pronounce. And John, I know you were talking to me about this a little bit, but like, tell us a little bit about how to ask about sort of those deeper questions of what it's made of and what you look for and why we care.
Okay, you know, one of the things that it was shocking initially to me, and as I think about it, is like the foam that we use that's used in our furnishings and, and mattresses. And we spend 1/3 of our lives in our bed, and some of us don't know that our mattresses are toxic. And it's the same thing with our sofas and what have you. So it's really, I think, important that we become mindful and aware of how these things can affect us and our lives and the lives of our families as we go along. And again, I think for us as designers, this is another selling point, because we are letting our clients know that on a very personal level, we care about them and we care about what we're bringing into their homes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's hard sometimes to get the information as designers, though, out of the manufacturers, and that's been a challenge that we've had. We used to call every retailer and manufacturer every 6 months to find out if they're still using flame retardants. And we have this crazy spreadsheet that we'd have to update, our intern would update, because they're just not forthcoming about, are they using them, are they not, since the California law changed in, I think it was 2013, right? So having that knowledge that flame retardants are no longer required, but it doesn't mean that there's not flame retardants in the furniture that you're speccing. So you really still have to dive deep and ask those questions. And they're not going to put it on their website and say, oh, we're still using flame retardants. Like you really do have to ask the questions. We like to get it in writing. We've had a lot of different answers from corporate, like versus emails. So we like to have it in writing. So if we ever go back, we have that. But I think it's really important to ask specifically if it contains flame retardants. And for the foam, we like to spec natural latex if we're doing custom furniture, wrapped in organic wool, which is naturally flame retardant. So you don't need all those chemicals to have a safe sofa. One of the manufacturers that we really like is Cisco Home, which is a Sustainable Furnishings Council member. They use natural latex foam and organic wool. So just a little plug for that. But I think, asking the direct questions are really important, and trying to, if you can, avoid the poly foam, which is then supporting the petroleum industry. So it's kind of a win-win, natural latex, natural product, and it doesn't off-gas into your home. So
we use a lot of COM on our upholstery because those labels have all the information on the memo samples, and also when you order from the manufacturer. When it's a stocked fabric, it's a little trickier to find out what's in that fabric and what it's treated with. So that's a good way to sort of start making sure that things are a little healthier.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that you both tie in something, which is, it's not just about the environment and saving the world. These things are affecting us in our home, and selecting natural resources is for the health of our clients as well. What questions, Jennifer, you are such a wealth of knowledge, and I love how educated you are, and those are great tips, like avoid the poly and go for natural. Also, for everybody watching, sustainablefurnishings.org, because I'm not as good at the spreadsheet as you are, Jennifer. So there are places where, that's why the Sustainable Furnishings Council is so important, and becoming a member is so important, so we can find the like-minded individuals in a way that's tangible for us to use in everyday design. Because it definitely takes time and commitment, thank you, Jennifer, to being that conscious with your business and your spend. And when you're new and starting out, sometimes it's hard to have those bases in place.
Yeah, that's true.
What things, Jennifer, do you find that your clients are asking you in terms of products in their home? Are you noticing any new trends? What's that relationship like?
Yeah, I think the most encouraging thing is that 10 years ago, clients weren't really asking about anything sustainable, right? And over the last 5 or 6 years, clients are so much more educated, and that gives me hope. I think the flame retardants is actually something, maybe it's the documentary Toxic Hot Seat. I don't know if you guys have seen that HBO documentary, which is one of my favorites. I think that helped, spark interest and concern for this. So I think clients are clued a little bit to the flame retardants, some clients. VOC paints, zero VOC paints, that's kind of like everyone knows what that is now and everyone wants that, so that's great. And just the general interest. So I think the in general, they just have more of an awareness of what they're bringing in their home affects their families and affects the air they breathe. So I think in general, they have a little bit more interest and curiosity, which gives us, all we need is a little curiosity and concern, right? As designers, to then educate them more and show them what's available and why we're not showing them certain products and why we're showing them certain things. So.
Right. And I'm finding, and now I'm interested to see if you are as well, that clients are willing to pay a little bit more for something they know is natural, made well, and going to be healthy for the environment as well as their immediate return. Are you finding the same thing?
Well, we always talk about what happens to this furniture when, you know, you do an update. Is it going to end up in a landfill? We are trying to educate our clients on quality, not just from the perspective of comfort and living with it, but also how that impacts the world afterwards. Mm-hmm. And people have been receptive to that. I think this idea that you can give something another life, where as opposed to tossing it into a landfill, you can reupholster it. It can feel very different. So it's great that people are more open to that and not just concerned with the price point. But obviously, we work with more luxury homeowners, so I think they have a little bit more space in their budget for that type of thing. Yeah. The other thing that I find is sustainability always seemed like it was just for people that were very concerned with the environment, who were living very green lives. But now I feel like it's become much more mainstream. So when I bring it up to clients, saying, well, you know, this fabric is a natural fabric and it's naturally stain resistant, so we can avoid the more toxic chemicals from, you know, something that's Teflon coated or something like that. They are open to that too, which gives me hope.
Yeah, we actually asked on our client survey, you know, are you interested in environmental design? And if so, is it for health reasons or for saving, you know, the earth, right? And it's interesting to break it out, I think, into the two things, because usually those choices that you're making align on both fronts. You know, something that's healthier for the environment is usually healthier for us. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting to see, and I think most of the answers are skewed a little bit more towards health. So I think that's a really good thing to know and understand as like clients, that's when they understand that it affects their family's health, you know,
right.
Home, right?
Well, I was going to say, to my earlier point, I think when people are passionate, as our clients can sometimes be about these things, and because there are so many more resources now, I don't think that they really mind paying a little more, because again, once you get your teeth into it, so to speak, it's you just keep, the more you know, the more you want to surround yourself with this, and if it costs a little more, that's okay.
Yeah, well, and I think that we are in a culture and a climate right now of fast buying, you know, and throwing things away. And so for me, I think it's an investment that we can guide our clients into to actually help them save in the long run. Buying a piece that you can have for a lifetime is a way better investment and will actually save you in the end of just filling your home with all these filler pieces. I am known as a mom expert as well, and I've got 2 boys, and I find that especially when it comes to my clientele with families, like one of the easiest conversations that has been a new trend is chemicals to clean products. And I love that, you know, on our chemicals and our cleaning products in the home, there's all these little stamps that say it's natural and it's got this in it and it's made of that. And so I think my hope is that the SFC, its members, its board members are our own little invisible label of like, go here, it's safe over here. And yeah, and now, how I want to give people a sense of hope when it comes towards the future. What are you seeing right now that's positive, that's coming out of all of this very visible climate culture, this world that's feeling very heavy, where do you find the positivity in all of this?
I know that it's a very fast buying culture, but I feel like I'm starting to see a shift actually. I think because people have been home and they're now investing in their homes, they have a little bit more money to spend on their homes, that they're thinking about quality, they're thinking about sustainability. They are, I think there's less of that cheap and cheerful furniture going around. So I'm excited about that. And you spoke about having kids. I also have 2 boys who were put on this earth to destroy all my furniture. And so I think when you're buying quality pieces that are made well, made in the US, they're going to last a lot longer and stand up to the wear and tear of family life.
I agree. Boys are the great equalizer of whether or not furniture is going to last, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a crazy world right now. Do you guys have any tips when it comes to a quick cleaning tip? I know that this is one that I get from clients all the time right now when it comes to how to just have green practices in their home. I love giving people, you know, just sort of an easy thing that you're doing that maybe I can learn from.
We try to have our clients purchase more eco-friendly, non-toxic, plant-based cleaning, like all-purpose cleaner. I mean, it's a simple thing, but just trying to get away from the petroleum-based products and bringing all those additional chemicals into your house. So just looking at the actual ingredients, that's the only real way to tell what's in it, right? Because there's so much greenwashing. Just looking, is it all plant-based materials that are going into the cleaner? And if so, great, all natural cleaners. That's one simple thing. We made that switch years ago in our family, and I felt good about that because you end up using a lot of all-purpose cleaner around your house, especially. I have an 8-year-old boy too. We all have boys. So a lot of cleaning. And then another thing is you touched on it earlier, Anel, about the avoiding Teflon treated fabrics for upholstery.
Teflon in general, the pans, everything.
Pans, yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we threw out, I mean, we use the ceramic coated nonstick pans, so no Teflon at all for that. But back to the fabrics, we like to use a non-toxic stain treatment. So instead of getting the COM fabrics that already have Teflon applied, avoid stain treatments in general, and then have somebody come out that's local, spray the client's furniture with non-toxic water-based stain treatment so that they have the longevity of the furniture. You know, it can hold up over time, but it's a much more healthy alternative.
Yes, and John, I don't know if you feel this way, but I think teaching clients to care for their wood products is another great way of just adding to that longevity of life when adding a sustainable piece to your home. It's like a little friend that you have to take care of every once in a while. Do you have any tips or tricks, John?
You know, for wood furniture, it's funny, I grew up in the world where we pledged everything to death, you know, every piece of furniture in the house and what have you, and so it had the sheen and what have you. And I find with most of my wooden products that are in my home now, side tables, consoles and things, just with a little bit of warm water and then a soft cloth. Nice, you know, it's the simplest thing you can do, and you know, it's nice for the world.
I feel like there's this whole beauty trend of oil coming back. I don't know if you guys have hopped on that one, but I've been doing it for myself and my wood products. Natural oils are a great way to sort of bring something back to life, including your skin in a pandemic. But I love that, you know, I think this topic of environmentally friendly can feel so heavy at times, and it feels like we can't make a difference, but it's truly just these little things of like buying a natural product over one that we remember the smell of since childhood, but unfortunately was from a different time where we need to graduate and take care of the earth that's giving us all of these beautiful natural materials to work with. I'm so grateful for Susan sort of bridging this conversation and always being a leader in it. And now, you have done amazing work, and I think you are one of the leaders and been on this board longer than I have. What have you gotten from being a part of the Sustainable Furnishing Council, and why would you say that other people should join and be a part of this family that we're all in?
So actually, I think John is the one who's been part of.
Oh yes, sorry, John.
Longer. I am a newbie. But I think that it's a great resource. Like you said, if you're not able to keep all these facts in your head, it's a great resource to just check up on things. You know, if you're interviewing a new vendor, to go there and see, you know, what you should be asking. And then it's a great resource to find vendors that are focusing on sustainability, other designers. I think it's a wonderful organization, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
And John, you are the OG. I'm sorry about that. So this question should go to you as well.
Well, you know, to Nell's point, the SFC is so good. The website is so great. There's a finder section. So if you're looking for a mattress, you plug in mattress, and it will take you to members of the Sustainable Furnishing Council that do natural mattresses. Also, they have like some little shortcut tools. One is their buying guide, which tells you kind of which questions to ask, what you need to know about wood, and what have you, if you're interested. And I think the last thing that I really love too is they have a wood scorecard. So you can actually take a look at some of the vendors and see where they are on the scorecard with where they get their wood, how it's processed, and what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to make sure that we have time for questions because I see some going on in the chat. But I do want to just talk about this moment we're in. We're gearing up for an election. Hopefully everybody's registered to vote, your voice counts, but we are more aware of environmental degradation more than we ever have been, and the cause harmed by climate change. We are more aware than ever of injustice and damage in our communities. We are all anxious about COVID-19 and what that future looks like, and recovery from this, you know, going into a little bit of a recession. But what gives you hope right now? What can you say to everyone who's logging on, who wants to do better in their purchase power of the environment? Jennifer, give us some hope today.
Oh, okay. Oh man, that's a lot of pressure. You know, I think what we talked about earlier, really, that clients and our clients and people in general that we know in the industry just care more. You know, there's so much more awareness around what is sustainable design, sustainable furnishings, and that gives me hope because every year we get more and more people asking. And I think we, to Anel's point and to your point, Breegan, we have power in our purchasing, right? And so I think of all the millions of dollars that we're all speccing every year, right, of furnishings, and how much purchasing power we have and leveraging and pressuring the manufacturers. And I think the more clients are interested in it, the more we can sell and the more we can ask those tough questions and really kind of hold their feet to the fire. And that's where change happens because we all, you know, money talks. So I think we need to focus on that. And I think it gives me hope that people care. And it also gives me hope that all these young people are now coming up and they're showing so much energy, climate activists, social justice warriors, people out there in the streets. That gives me hope that, you know, there's just so much going on in our country and people are standing up for things. And I hope that we're starting change. And I hope that the election reflects that, and go Biden.
John, how are you feeling hopeful?
You know, I think it's much of the same thing. I think for a long time, there were plenty of people that could be climate deniers and what have you. And I mean, this is just smacking us in the face. The fires in California, the tornadoes in middle America, the hurricanes that, you know, we're already up to or past any place we've ever been before this season. And I think when we look at all of that, you know, people are having to become aware. And I think, you know, as with chemicals and things that are in the home that aren't healthy and what have you, I think when this starts to become personal for people, that's when they get really concerned. And it's, you know, when you see entire cities or towns being burned to the ground in California, how can you ignore that? And even in this pandemic that we've got going on, to not understand that our climate is what has helped make this a perfect petri dish for this. I just think that it's also in our face that we can't help. And I think that it's nice that I do believe people are responding in greater numbers and they're more concerned and they want to see change.
I couldn't agree more. And now, how are you feeling?
I think for some people it can feel very overwhelming to wrap their heads around making this big impact on the environment and making these sustainable choices. But what gives me hope is that it's actually all of us doing just a small thing. It's, you know, I guess, is it incremental, exponential? I don't know what the right word is, but if we're all just making small changes, making decisions, you know, to pick a piece of furniture from one vendor versus the next, recycling furniture, buying things close to home so that we're also not adding to the carbon emissions with trucking things cross country or flying them across the ocean. All these small decisions add up if we're all thinking about it and doing something, as opposed to just a few people who are trying to do everything. So I think I had a client who said, does that mean I have to like throw out all this stuff? I was like, no, you just have to start small. And if we all start small, I think it'll become more of a way of life and it'll be incorporated into our design practices more, you know, more easily, and it'll just be this organic growth over time where hopefully one day sustainability is part of everyone's mission.
Yep, Susan's working on it for us.
Yeah, I agree. And to add to your point, Annelle, I think people get caught up in the perfection of it, which is similar to what you're saying. It's just not knowing that there's no 100% perfect green stamped, this is the best thing. Like just making informed decisions and doing the best you can and throw away the perfection, right? Because that's not going to help us. It's just all the small things to make a difference, like FSC certified wood or sustainably harvested wood, as that just choosing those for your practice could make a huge difference. Just a small change like that.
And what I love about this panel, if all you leaders who are SFC members, is what I'm really hearing is the approachability of your clients asking the right questions, you asking the right questions of your vendors. It really starts with the curiosity being in the right place. Like I heard each one of you say that in a different way. Like we are asking the right questions. And I think that's where we have to start if you want to make change. So if nothing else, that sustainablefurnishings.org has a lot of the answers for us. And thank you, John, for reminding us about that search finder, because I think that's a useful, helpful tool for everybody who's watching to remember. And I feel so blessed to be here with you guys today. And thank you for making this such an approachable topic when the world feels very heavy. I want to open up some of these questions. Susan, do you want me to read these? We've got a few here. Deborah says, I am a designer from Ontario, Canada. I have a very, very difficult time sourcing natural latex. Are you aware of a supplier that I could contact? So yes, Sustainable Furnishings Council can help you, but I have a feeling Jennifer has a good answer for you on this one.
I mean, I think that's a tricky one. You just want to find the upholsterers in your area that really have an interest in sustainability. That's the best way. I don't have a direct supplier of latex personally, but I've forged relationships with, locally with fabricators and upholsterers in San Francisco that early on showed an interest in being more green. And they're the ones who have the established relationships with the foam manufacturer. So I would really urge you to find that upholsterer who is like-minded and has a sustainability. Yeah, that would be my advice.
I will comment here that there are companies supplying that material latex. And as you say, Jennifer, they might be supplying it to the upholstery company rather than directly to the designer. But those companies can be found at sustainablefurnishings.org too. There's another, you probably see, Bregan, there's another question about latex here, whether natural latex specification in seating has any impact on clients with latex allergies. Almost all latex allergies are contact allergies. And when the latex is foam inside a piece of furniture, you're not going to be touching it. So I wanted to provide that assurance.
Yes, thank you. And Susan, you are the expert on all of this. So I may put some of these beautiful questions your way. One of them is going back to like our easy cleaning solutions, but if an outside technician, Linda Phillips asked this, comes in to stain treat the furniture with a water-based treatment, wouldn't a water-soluble cleaner remove the water-based treatment that was just applied? This seems very specific, but Susan, you may have an answer for that.
Just like a water-based paint is something you're going to be able to wash later, a water-based finish or treatment is going to dry or otherwise cure, and then you're going to be able to wash it. And Jennifer, you might have experience with the treatments you recommend. They might recommend how to clean it.
Yeah, usually our vendor actually brings a special cleaning solution, a bottle. After he's done, he leaves it into spray bottle. So it's actually chemically meant to match with whatever they're doing. And it's also non-toxic and water-based. So you can also just use, a microfiber cloth and warm water. But the cleaning solution they provide is also really great. And I've used it on my ivory sofa and it works. So.
We have another question from Sarah, and Sarah Welsh, I think, says, what is the best route to take with clients who are on a budget and maybe can't afford local custom furniture?
Well, I'll take the upholstery part of that. I mean, I think Cisco Home does great upholstery and they do very non-toxic options. There's different levels of how green you can make the sofa. Mitchell Gold is also a good price point, and they offer soy foam, which is I think Susan would know, I think it's partly petroleum polyfoam, but it has soy, so it's less poly, foam. And they're a good manufacturer, and I think they have pretty sustainable practices. For the wood, I would just go to the Sustainable Furnishings Council website, honestly, and start there, because there's so many vendors that are a very approachable price point there. But I think Cisco Home and Mitchell Gold, if you're looking for more of that mid-range price point, that's where we would start, those two manufacturers for the non-toxic upholstery.
I also find, just personally, that sometimes it's saving for the one thing you really want as opposed to just a bunch of fillers. So I'm always looking for the trick in their budget. If they have you as a designer, they think they can't afford it, but part of our knowledge is to come with the information and go, it's not that much more. We're just gonna care, and I'm gonna show you options. So you definitely can be sustainable on a budget as well.
The other thing is, it doesn't need to just be new furniture. So if someone's on a budget, you can buy vintage pieces. There's so many online sites now where you can get a great deal and give these pieces a second life. And probably that furniture is going to be much better quality than if you just bought cheap furniture from a Chinese manufacturer anyway. And there are really a lot of good deals.
That is an amazing tip. Customizing like an antique piece of furniture bringing it back to life. I find that my clients are often looking for unique pieces. And so that's a great way to merge those things together. You can give them the uniqueness of something that's literally custom made, but you are saving money and you are saving cutting down another tree. So that's like one of the best tips I think we've heard today. I forgot about that one. That's a great. Okay, so another question here is, would you recommend looking for companies who are sustainable in their shipping and packaging? Lindsay asked that one. We need to get an FSC stamp on all these brands so it can be like our, like when you go to the grocery store. Make it happen for us, Susan. Yeah. Are you guys finding companies are putting that on their packaging?
I will tell you about packaging that it is a bugaboo in furniture. It is something that people have tremendous difficulty with, and it is made simpler with local choices, but that is different, you know, so that means that all of your clients who can order something, you can order something made locally for them. It can be delivered in blanket wrap. It never has to go into plastic. In the regular mass furniture world, there is a lot of furniture shipped around in plastic and paper and wood packaging. There is an organization like ours. We're working in the residential furnishings industry. There's an organization working specifically in packaging, and they're a partner of ours. And they're the Sustainable Packaging Coalition. And so we often find out from them what's new and interesting. And we do have some interesting kinds of packaging that our industry can make use of, including mycelium packaging, packaging that is grown to be the shape of the corner of a piece of furniture. So it doesn't have to be styrofoam, it can be grown, and then it can be tossed away. Like some other solutions we've talked about today, it's kind of expensive yet, but prices do come down as things are used more. So I want you to have it as a bug in your ear.
And as we demand them. So
exactly.
Thank you, Susan. And Claudia asked our final question that we'll take today, which is, what are some of the most naturally stain resistant fabrics? She says, I have a difficult time sourcing eco-friendly fabrics. Do you have a list of vendors? I'll just answer the list of vendors. Go to sustainablefurnishings.org. That's where they all live. But Susan, do you, she wants naturally stain resistant fabrics that are eco-friendly.
Yeah, I bet Annelle and John and Jennifer will have comments too. Wool is famously naturally stain resistant. So in the interest of time, I'll just mention the wool.
And specifically mohair. I mean, mohair is such an incredible upholstery fabric. I mean, I've gotten bicycle grease out of that material.
Oh,
great. That's great.
Boys, I have no doubt.
Yeah. Y'all know I wanted to thank Kimberly. I want to thank International Market Centers, High Point Market. Y'all will be judging our Green Ribbon Awards coming up, and they are going to be announced on October 13th when we come together for another discussion where you'll be able to talk about the materials that you found in the products you've chosen and other eco attributes. So I hope that our audience will come for very specific product recommendations on October 13th. But you can plan to be at High Point yourself or to participate in High Point Market virtually this market. It's an exciting time in this unusual fall.
It is. And also, thank you, Kim. And I see that Kim also in the side chat has put a link to the exhibitors, and you can see which are in the sustainable category through the Design on High Point Market catalog connection. And she's gone ahead and put that link in there for everyone. Thank you. This has been awesome. I needed a moment filled with some hope in what I can do. And I really feel that leaving all of you here today. John, Anel, Jennifer, I invite you to say any last words to anyone. I think we're wrapping up, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regan.
Thank you.